Joy Nook Book Club. Welcome back to another book club interview. And I know you're probably seeing my photo, okay, on the actual thumbnail. And that's because our normal host, Kiera Michelle, booked and blessed, filling in for her doing this children's book author interview today. However, the individual that we have today, y'all recognize his face. Y'all see him over there. I just got finished telling him this is round 3 for us. Been blessed to actually interview him for his adult book, Out of Darkness, and also his children's book that he co-wrote with some students in his class. And that is the Adventures of Captain Yoke, Outer Space. Look, y'all, I'm getting it. I know I'm getting it mixed up, and he's going to correct me, okay? And I'm okay with that. I'm completely okay with that. Before we even get started, I want to make sure anyone that is coming to the Joy Nook Book Club for the first time, I want to thank you for tuning in. And if you enjoy getting, good reading material from independently published authors, this is the place for you, especially if you are one that's looking for faith-based content. Please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can be notified of new content that we come out with. And if you are watching this on What Women Are Thinking Network on Facebook, please make sure you hit the like button and you follow us so that you can continuously, again, receive the new content that is coming out and seeing these interviews. And all those that are, our diehard followers, fans and friends, thank you and welcome back. So let's go ahead and get into what we're here for tonight. So I'm not going to labor you long because y'all know I like a little monologue in the beginning. But what's interesting is that with our author today, he is he's connected not only because he is a teacher, but because of his true love for teaching, learning, growing. And it doesn't matter if you're an adult or if you're a child. There are things that you're going to go through in life that will cause you to learn some heavy life lessons. And sometimes we have to deal with things when we're young, and as we go through our journey of life, we find that those things still resonate in our mind, and how we deal with those things are crucial. As a life coach myself, I find that a lot of my clients, things stem from when they were younger and how they dealt with things. And because of that, a lot of their behaviors mirror what they did when they were younger, because they really never found a healthy way, I would say a healthy way of dealing with that pull of being uncomfortable, that pull of feeling sad or feeling lonely or feeling rejected or feeling like no one likes you or no one understands you. There's just so much. I could go on and on and on. And when Cortland was telling me we're working on another project together. And when he was telling me about his new book that he has tonight, which he will tell you all about, I was like, this is perfect, because so many teachers and parents are dealing with what his book is all about. I don't want to give anything up, because y'all know I will. Y'all know I'm good for it. But I don't want to give it up. However, I do want you to understand and to listen, because how we deal with tough situations is different for everyone. But we have to allow the person to find that way, and we be there to support them through whatever it is that they are going through. We may not like it or understand how they're dealing with it, but as long as they're dealing with it in a very healthy way to get through this uncomfortable time in their life. I'm excited because he is allowing us here at the Joint Nook Book Club to be the first interview that he does for his new book. And that's what makes this so exciting. That's why I don't want to just drag this on any longer. But for all of you who have been with the Joy Nook Club from the beginning, because he was actually the fifth author that we interviewed when we started this whole entire uh, podcast. Um, but, we have him here again for another book. And I am just honored to be able to drop the mic to our author for this evening, Cortland Jones. The floor is yours.
So, first of all, thank you, Alenia, for allowing me to be a guest on your platform. I appreciate being able to come back and share with the Joy Nook Book Club audience. And I want to thank the audience for receiving me and welcoming me to this platform. I do have a new book out called Hero, the Boy Whose Dreams Inspire Triumph. The story is about a young man named Martin. He's a fourth grader. And in this particular book, his mother is helping him learn about self esteem, what it means, and how he can be practical and how he applies it to his life, while also facing the challenge of being bullied by one of his classmates. And in the first book of a four-part series, Martin is facing the challenge of verbal bullying. So Alenia just mentioned how there's these different facets related to the subject of bullying. And in this particular book, Martin is facing the challenges associated with verbal bullying. So, one of the things that inspired me to write the content is the work that I do, obviously, as a retired educator, former educator, 30 years in the system, Prince George's County Public Schools. 10 of those years was spent outside the classroom, involved in peer mediation. My responsibility was to train youth how to help their peers talk out conflicts that they were experiencing. And I also spend time working with parents and adults as it relates to quality time spent with your child, talking with them, helping them to learn and apply these conflict resolution strategies, decision making, problem solving, that helps them to be able to, at every age and stage of development, learn to face and overcome challenges. So, one thing that inspired me to also share with this group today, as I've shared on social media, the best gift we can give our children is the ability to cope. The best gift we can give our children is the ability to cope. So, one of the motivations of writing Hero, the Boy Whose Dreams Inspires Triumph, is to provide practical strategies through how Martin deals with the reality of facing verbal bullying. As the story is read, you will recognize techniques and strategies that he uses to combat and overcome his thoughts and feelings as he's going through the experience of verbal bullying. And even in the books that I have sent out that were purchased, I left a little inscription to the children who were receiving the books that all things are possible with God, including overcoming bullying. Teaching our children to believe that even something that can be traumatic for children, something that can be challenging and difficult and hard to manage at their age, with the support of a healthy network a healthy support group of family and friends, even the school community, parents included, that children can work through and navigate the reality of bullying. On a personal and professional note, 10 years in the system, working directly with children, helping them to overcome peer related conflicts, teaching them strategies on how to deal with conflict, including verbal conflict, physical fights, threats, disagreements, misunderstandings, rumors, how to handle these particular types of conflicts, and the emotions associated with them and the thoughts that interfere with their ability to be able to focus on their schoolwork, stay in the classroom, and do the things that they need to do. My son experienced bullying as an elementary age child. And then in high school, he experienced racism, where his mother and I actually had to go up to the school. And with the support of the school community, we addressed the other families associated with the conflict. So this book has a personal meaning to me as well. It is something that I myself have experienced as a parent with my child, and the strategies that we employ to both help the child as well as to support the child in learning how to face and overcome those realities. So this book is special to me in the sense that my desire to see children grow and evolve and transform as a result of reading the content. And I actually had a parent give me feedback today, and she shared that in reading the story with her daughter, the daughter saw Martin, that's the main character. She saw Martin as a wise young man for his age. Martin is a fourth grade student, African American male. He's very inquisitive. He has a vivid imagination. He is confident in who he is, but he still faces the reality of being bullied. And so, through the reading of the story, parents and children can discuss the content. And through the discussion of the content, our children are being encouraged to really look at how they can apply the strategies that are provided in the story so they can bully proof themselves. Um, I may not uh, go through my school career bully free. At some point, I may experience bullying or even as an adult. However, I don't have to be controlled by the bullying behavior or consumed by it. And that's what I really would want I would want youth to take away from reading this book. And the parent I spoke to today, the word that she used was resilient. She saw Martin as resilient and felt that the way in which he navigated the reality of dealing with verbal bullying displayed resilience. So, what I want to do, I want to just share the intro to the story. This is the first book in a 4-part series. And in each book, Martin is going to experience some type of conflict associated with bullying. And in the first book, he's experiencing verbal bullying. And in every book, the opening scene is going to be a conversation that he shares with his mother. And based on the information that she shares with him, that information is going to help support him through his experiences of the day. And then we get to see him apply what he's learning as he faces his challenges. And again, the title of Hero, the boy whose dreams inspire triumph, Martin's big challenge. Good morning, Martin. Martin's mother says with a warm, affectionate grin on her face as he enters the kitchen. Good morning, Mommy, Martin replied with a melodic tone of joy in his voice as he thought aloud, as he thought about returning to school now that summer has ended. Well, someone is in a good mood today. Martin's mother is surprised by Martin's upbeat attitude so early in the morning. Yes, Martin shouts with a fist pump as he expresses back. I'm in the fourth grade now, Mommy. That means I have Mr. Hughes as my teacher. Everybody likes Mr. Hughes. This school year is going to be awesome. I am excited for you, Martin, and happy that you have Mr. Hughes as your fourth grade teacher. Not all students are excited about the new school year or the teachers they have. I am happy to see you happy, son, Martin's mother responds calmly with a pleasant voice to Martin's excitement, cherishing her son's enthusiasm for school and learning. Well, then let's get some of this breakfast in that supercharged belly of yours so you don't burn out all the energy before you even get to school, Martin's mother says with a hearty chuckle. Cool, pancakes, Mommy, you rock. Thanks. First pancakes, and then knowing I will have Mr. Hughes as my teacher, this school year is getting off to a great start. Martin shouts as he begins to gobble up what's on his plate. So you're not sad summer has ended? I am surprisingly amused to see you so upbeat and motivated about going back to school, Martin. At the end of last summer, I remember a certain someone who was a little nervous about the beginning of the school year. Martin's mother, pleasant Martin's mother's pleasant, calm tone invites his openness to talk. I don't think I can ever be happy with summer ending, Mommy. Martin bellows with laughter. I am just excited about having Mr. Hughes as my teacher. He is a great teacher, and all the students who had him still talk about him and the cool things he does in class. Well, I guess I am a little nervous about being in the fourth grade. I know the work is going to be harder. Math was hard last year, so I'm thinking I'll get better with Mr. Hughes's helping me, Mommy. Or maybe I'm just not smart when it comes to math, Martin replies hesitantly, remembering his struggles with math in the third grade. So those are the first two pages in the book Hero, the boy whose dreams inspired triumph, Martin's big challenge. And in preparation for having this discussion with Alinea about the content, I just want to reinforce the opening scene is always a conversation between Martin and his mother. And as you can see from the beginning of this story, Martin recalls his struggles with math that causes him to consider that maybe he doesn't feel smart. He may not think he's smart. And I know this happens to children. I struggled with math in elementary school, and that was the inspiration behind having Martin struggle. I want the reader, I want the child who's reading this story to connect and be able to relate to the character. So Martin doesn't have everything all together. And from the opening scene, we can see him also being a little reserved and hesitant and unsure, which is the reality of being human, let alone being a child. And so I wanted to include that humanness part of the story so it can be relatable both to the child and the parent who's reading the story. And then, as parents, as Martin's mother is going to do, as you continue to read the story in the opening scene, picking up on cues, verbally, non verbally, that our children are expressing to us, because they can communicate with us without using words to allow us to tune in to what may be happening or what giving us clues and insight on how to help them navigate something as simple as not thinking that they're smart. What can we say to our children to reinforce that what they're thinking or feeling may not be accurate to who they really are? So Martin's mother is about to address the reality of self-esteem and how the things that he thinks, says, and does can help him feel better about who he is. And she talks to him about even though he struggles in math, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's smart. It's just important for him to understand that when you don't learn something or when you don't know something, that's an opportunity to learn something. When you don't know something, it's an opportunity to learn something. So, Alinea, thank you again for allowing me to share this with the Joy Nook Book Club.
I would like to see the pictures of the 2 pages.
So that's him coming down.
Wait a minute. I want to bring that in. Look at that.
That's him coming down to the kitchen and eating. And then here,
look at those eyes.
he's sitting in front of his pancakes. And I'm a fan of pancakes. So some of the information in the story inspired from things of interest to me. But like I said, I did struggle with math in elementary school. I know how that felt. And I wanted Martin to be a realistic representation of a child in elementary school.
As I was listening to Martin and his mother, and that's how a lot of young students feel first day of school. Even the ones that don't do as well in school, they're excited to go back to school. And then all of a sudden, certain things trigger. So we as adults need to remember that they get triggers too, that can cause them to do that self-doubt and that self-sabotage, which that does not help with other things coming down the pike that they could be dealing with. So I think you starting with the conversation, the conversations allows us to see where that main character is and their thinking and how to navigate through the rest of the story, how they are going to navigate, and you can understand maybe why, some whys along the way as that comes along. Now, when writing the mother, now I know you said that that you had to deal with bullying for your son, and let me tell you this, audience, his son wrote a book, and yes, we did an interview with him as well. So with knowing all of that, and with knowing that yes, okay, you've dealt with this, what in your, because this is a 4-part series of the different types of bullying that a child could go through. Number one, how can a parent who doesn't understand bullying because they've never been bullied, so they think, how does the content in this book, how could that help them navigate dealing with their child who is being bullied? That's the first question. And then the second part of that question is, for the different series, does the conversation with Martin evolve because he's getting older?
Yes. So the answer to the first question of how the parent can benefit from reading the book or learn as a result of having this dialogue with the child, listening to me becomes the first strategy. Really trying to understand what your child is communicating. Children don't talk like adults. They don't use adult words. They may not even have the words to really communicate what they're thinking and feeling. So really being careful to just listen and try to understand what they're saying without putting words in their mouth. Learning how to not react. So listening, learning how to not react or respond with emotion. Because this is it doesn't have to be bullying. Talking about how they feel as it relates to grades, and if they feel that every time they talk, there's going to be this huge rush of emotion and reaction to what they're saying, we're shutting them down. So listening, learning not to react. I can say for myself, it's only because I worked in the school community that I understood the process step one,
Okay.
step two, step three, what to do if this thing keeps escalating.
Right.
So being informed about your role as the parent on how to hold the school accountable
Mm,
to their responsibility to ensure that your child is protected,
right.
uh, who to talk to, and being clear and specific about understanding what the next step is, what you
Hmm.
would like to see happen as a result of this incident that seems to be reoccurring. For the parent that may feel like they didn't experience bullying as a child, and so they may not feel like they can relate. If you had friends who joned on you consistently about wearing glasses or
Yes.
your body image,
Your clues, right?
again, the repeated
Hmm.
pattern of behavior, even amongst friends, like joning, is a form of bullying.
Right.
It's not so much the behavior as much as how it makes you feel.
Hmm.
So if you feel threatened, if you feel hurt, if you feel diminished or minimized as a result of the comments, the words, that's what bullying is.
Yes.
The attempt to make a person feel small, insignificant, unimportant,
Hmm.
to begin to manipulate and control them through the use of words. It doesn't have to be words, but that in this particular book, that's where it begins. But the other thing is to, and then I'll answer the second question. Um, being careful not to talk about D, E, and F when your child just asks you about A, B, and
You
C.
see.
And I've had to practice that myself. Yeah. Uh,
I understand.
yeah. Because you can go on your soliloquies and your child is
Mhm.
already tuned out. They may act like they're listening, but they're not. So
Right.
being careful to be specific to respond
Yes.
only to what the.
Right.
So your second question, can you repeat the second question?
The second question is, as Martin, as in the other series that are coming, will the conversation evolve? Because it will he be in the same grade or will he be getting older? So how will that conversation will it the conversation rather will that conversation evolve
So
between the mother and Martin?
the goal is to have him experience the four types of bullying within the same school year.
Gotcha.
Uh,
Okay.
and so it starts with verbal. But we know children who are bullied, it's not a one time event.
Right.
It usually is an ongoing, and more often than not, people are not aware of it until it escalates.
Hmm.
Because the child is not willing to come forward thinking that by saying something, it's going to get worse. And what we've had to remind children is it gets worse even if you don't say
It's
something.
something. Yep.
So it becomes important that they learn how to use their voice and speak up and then get help. These
Hmm.
are all life skills that are significant and important. So, in answer to your question, it begins in book two with the mom actually asking, so, how are things going since the first incident?
Gotcha.
Being specific to put a question out there to get a sense from the child, are things okay? If they're not
Right.
okay, and then in book two, there's going to be an incident that requires them to go to the guidance office.
Mm. Gotcha.
So again, conflict escalates. Who are the people in the school community
Right. They can
who
help.
are positioned specifically to assist children? So
Right.
the story really is on different levels helping parents and children understand who the roles, who the people are to go to talk
Right.
to assist, uh, a type of question to ask.
Hmm.
If the question is asked, that's an opportunity to speak up. So it's uh, it's an informative book on ways to address this reality.
Gotcha. I'm interested in what made you choose to put him in fourth grade instead of maybe sixth grade or eighth grade.
So that goes back to the quote I shared when I was discussing the content of the book before I read the book. I do believe the best gift we can give our children is the ability to cope. Fourth grade was selected because in the time I was pursuing my master's degree in counseling, I came across content that showed that by fourth grade, even if children of African American descent have the same privileges associated with their white counterparts as far as resource,
Right.
for some reason they still fall behind academically, and they yet could not cite reasons why. If they had the same number of books, if they had the same engagement with parenting, they still fell behind.
Right.
So what that leads me to believe is there more than one reason. So fourth grade, because this is the reality when we start falling behind.
Gotcha.
So parents, let's read to our children. Let's engage them in conversation, because these are all literacy-based skills, problem solving, decision making, critical thinking. All that comes from reading, talking about the content.
Right.
This is what teachers do with them while they're at school. So let me reinforce that at home by simply reading the book to my child, reading with them, letting them read to me, talking about the content. That will help them in their academic performance if they are practicing the skills, not just in the classroom, but also at home.
For your whole series, how long, if a child is sitting down reading this? So I presume that it is on a fourth grade reading level.
So the book is, I would say, a range from fourth grade all the way up to middle school.
Okay.
Based on the child's reading ability, I would recommend that a parent read the book with the child, not necessarily because of the words, but because of the real content associated with child development, not feeling confident.
Gotcha.
If a child, because there are children on fourth grade level who are reading chapter books.
Yes.
So that type of child would definitely be able to read this book on their own. But it was written with the intent that a parent would sit down with the child, read it with them, talk about the content. The parent who talked to me today said they actually took time over a few days to read different sections of the story, and that's what allowed the child to come to the conclusion that Martin was a wise child. They could really take in the content.
Gotcha.
And see his evolution and how he dealt with his school day. So all of this is happening in one school day.
Okay. Gotcha. So I know that now the schools are big on social emotional learning. How does your book tap into that? I mean, I could be, you probably already answered the question, but that was one because I have one of my sister girls. She talks about it all the time, and we talk every morning, and she's really big on that social emotional learning and ensuring that the child really is able to deal with their feelings and be able to tap in and find words. But how does your book connect with what they are doing in the school system now?
Yeah, and with that understanding, that's why the book was written in the manner that it was. We see right at the beginning of the story, Martin is excited about fourth grade year, but then has a recollection about math and third grade, and now he's not feeling smart.
Right.
And mom, hearing and understanding, begins to have a conversation with him about that reality. The conversation that she's having, part of it is influenced by what I would say to my own students as well as my children. And so again, real life, I want Martin to be seen as inquisitive, as intelligent, as confident. One child has already acknowledged him being wise.
Yeah.
But he has problems too. He He's a human being. He has
Right.
feelings. He has thoughts. He can be unsure, even though he's confident. Um, and as a parent, not seeing this as a fault, like my child is unsure, so that means
Mhm.
I did something wrong. No,
Right.
your child is unsure sometimes.
Right.
That's how humans are.
Right.
So there's the story was written in a way for both the parent and the child to benefit from the content.
Fantastic. Well, I tell you, we, and I'm going to say we. So it went from we to me. One of the things that you did say is really listening to what your child is saying, and don't give them, XYZ when they need ABC. And
Mhm.
even dealing with my college student, I had to learn that. And that was
Mhm.
tough.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how bad I was at it. And you might think because you're in a profession that requires you to listen, you
Mhm.
know, you're a great listener. But I found out that I'm a great listener professionally,
Mhm.
not when my emotions can drive everything. And
Mhm.
I always call it, well, actually, my daughter started calling it Olivia Poping things. You know, Mother, I don't need you to Olivia Pope that because I'll go in and we're going to get some things straight, right?
I
Um,
love that.
I think that what you were saying, um, in the beginning it's crucial. One, you need to have the conversations, but two, you need to listen when you are having those conversations with your child. And I think books like Hero and some other books, because we actually had a young author that wrote about bullying, her experience through bullying. And the interesting thing is how the adults respond
Mhm.
is what drives it, really. It's not really how the children respond
Yeah.
because they feed off of our craziness.
No, but this is in what you're saying. This is an important strategy
Hmm.
that I sought to apply to the writing of the story. I
Yeah.
wanted the mom to model the behaviors that are helpful for a parent.
Hmm.
I've learned to communicate with parents.
Right.
This is part of the reason why we cannot seek to counsel or be a therapist to our child
Right.
because the emotion gets in the way.
Yes.
And let me help a parent understand that from a practical standpoint and not from a something's wrong with you standpoint. This is your child. You should have an emotional reaction to something that is threatening the well being of your child.
Hmm.
However, now you need to model what you want your child to model when they're in that situation. And that's
Right.
to first deal with how I'm feeling, manage the emotion,
Yes.
acknowledge it that it exists. I used to tell kids the only reason why you feel the way you do is because of what you're going through. If,
Right.
if you weren't going through what you were going through, you wouldn't feel what you're feeling. So don't let
Hmm.
the feelings cause you to think something's wrong with you. There's not.
Right. Exactly.
Those feelings are real. And so as parents, the feelings we're feeling are real too,
Hmm.
seeing our child suffer.
Right.
But we have to pull back. If I'm distressed, like really distressed about what I'm hearing, now's not
Yeah.
the time to talk. Now's not the time to strategize, problem solve. Go ahead, watch TV, read a book. I'm gonna get myself together. No, but we've all been there. Parent and child is going through racism on the high school level. I mean, we ready to go in there and bring some signs and shut stuff down.
Right. Shut it down, right?
Yeah. Go to the Board of Education. Who do I need to
Right.
talk to just shut this whole thing down? You
Right.
know, but you can tell from your child, speaking of my son, that's not what he's looking for. Like you just
Yeah.
said, he's not looking for the Olivia Pope experience
Right.
because we have to remember they
Yeah.
still got to deal with this reality after
Hmm.
we go in with the tornado. They
Yes.
still got to face the child or the group or the children and our reaction is not helping them. That's how we got to look at it.
There you go.
Our reaction is not helping them. They already are on a level of emotion that they're trying to learn how to deal with. When you talk
Right.
about fourth grade, what fourth grader knows how to deal with intense emotions related to bullying?
Exactly.
Most
You're
don't.
right.
So it's patiently helping them work through all the real feelings and thoughts
Yeah.
associated with bullying.
Right.
And the goal of the book is to help learn how to navigate that reality.
Right. Cortland, I'm telling you, this is exciting and this is good. As Alenia will always say, y'all need to buy the book. You need to buy the book. But before we say our goodbyes, I want to make sure that we give you an opportunity, Cortland, to tell everyone where they can pick up a copy of your book, Hero, the boy whose dreams. Oh, wait a minute, I need to make sure I say it right. The boy whose dreams inspire triumph. See, I was getting close, y'all. I was getting close. Where can they pick up this wonderful book?
So it is currently on Amazon. You can also go to my website, cortlandjones.com, CORTLAND Jones.com, and go to the store, and it'll take you to the jmediamarketplace.net website where you can purchase the book. So there are 3 places where you can go: my website, cortlandjones.com, jmediamarketplace.net, JAY mediamarketplace.net, or you can go to Amazon. And one thing I didn't mention, the reason why the story is titled Hero, in his imagination, Martin visualizes himself as a superhero. This is how he learns to cope with what he's going through. In his mind, he visualizes himself resolving the problem that he's facing, and that helps him to calm down. So again, there are strategies that are applied. The neat thing about the story, his friends are superheroes in his mind as well, and his adversary obviously is the villain. So in his imagination, he's processing, visualizing, critically thinking. He is actively engaged in a thought process that helps him to resolve whatever he's facing.
Right. I don't have to have a conclusion, y'all. Cortland has concluded this interview very, very well. Cortland, thank you again for allowing us here at the Joy Nook Book Club to be the first to take part in a discussion in regards to your book, Hero, the boy whose dreams inspire triumph. Okay, look at that, y'all. I got it. Joy Nook Book Club, thank you very much for sticking here with us and listening. And remember that sustainable habits inspire mindful transformation to help you get your shift right. See you next time, everyone. Bye.